You get lost in your imperfections. You get lost in the things you want. But if you slow down for just 1 second, you might feel.
So it is now that time of year when people are going on road trips and the weather's looking awesome and you have that excitement to hit the ground running because it's beautiful outside. So how do you make the most of a road trip? How do you, especially if you're by yourself? And even if you're not by yourself, it makes it so much easier. But if you're by yourself, if you're hitting the road, how do you document something and then make it meaningful to other people? This is what I do, and this is kind of my approach to documenting life. And I'll use this with commercial shoots, editorial shoots, whatever the case may be, because it's something that applies to every facet of work that you do, and that is to tell a story. I'm out here in kind of the middle of nowhere. I took a road trip from Idaho Falls to Boise, and I took the back road because I wanted to see the landscape. Like you can see behind me, the sun's starting to set, got the mountains, and then this long road behind me, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I rented a car from Enterprise, and if you're thinking like, well, I want to go out and create just a bunch of images and possibly use them for future work, well, I rented this from Enterprise. It's a Mazda CX-5, so you have a potential to build a portfolio with a car. So I have Mazda, Enterprise, but then even like the state of Idaho, and then using your content for depending on the camera that you're using or the gear or the lens. Like there's so many opportunities to use your experience, your road trip, and to market it and to commercialize it. So just to keep that in mind as you're creating stuff like, I'm using a brand new 2023 Mazda CX-5, like I could use that. I could create a portfolio around that and just like all the cool stops and just like, fill some like, Instagram reel stuff or whatever the case may be. It's endless. And so if you have that kind of mindset, that lens, it's going to open up your mind to, more than anything, a different way to see the road trip that you're on. How I approach storytelling is I'm looking for details. What I mean by that is cutaways. Like it's always awesome to have the big hero shot, but the details are what make up the big picture. So I'm looking for, low angles, especially, with the car. I'm peeking around the corner. I have like the rock in the foreground. So just building depth, like that's what creates, three-dimensional images. You put the audience in your shoes and you feel like you're leading them in, you're peeking around the corner, they feel like they're part of the image. Another thing that I try to do, especially when you're in a beautiful place like this, I'm using a 24, I'm using the drone, I'm using a 135, I'm using the 70-200, and I'm compressing the background. I can create unique images with every lens, but every lens tells its own story. And so when I'm going, I'm kind of out of breath and winded because I hiked up this hill to get this like cool vantage shot, but it's absolutely insane. Like this, like behind me you have like these black rocks, but then you have the car right here, and then just like the sun is starting to set, and it's awesome. And so hiking up here, trying to find a cool spot, let's just ripping off a few images and then moving on to the next shot. One of the biggest things I've learned from this experience, and I'm only about halfway through this 4-hour journey, but I've taken so many stops, but like that's kind of the fun thing, is that when you're on a road trip and you give yourself the flexibility to stop and to really experience what you're seeing, it alleviates the stress, but it also just allows you to put your audience in your shoes. And like that's what's so cool about this, is that everywhere I look, there's always a new opportunity, and that's what I'm trying to share and showcase. It's like I've gone through such a dramatic change of light, and every time it's different. And so I feel like I would have missed out on some very precious moments had I just rushed through the experience. Show people what you are experiencing and like why it's so fun to go on road trips. I think this is like one of the things that I wish I would have done more of is to just go out with no expectation other than to experience something new for the first time. And if that's the biggest reason to go out and do something, then it's a great reason to go out and do something. Because road trips, they humble you, but they also put in life into a new perspective. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope that it kind of gives you it sparks your imagination in terms of like how you can document what you're experiencing. And if you have other people, like, it's awesome. It's even better, especially with people who are just as excited as you are. Thank you again for sticking around and for showing up, and more importantly, have fun with what you're doing. Until next time, Roger out.